All righty, guys. NHL season has come to a close, and we are now looking ahead to the playoffs, and we couldn't be more stoked about that. Sadly, our New York Islanders didn't quite make the cut this year, but they did have, I would say, a pretty good 6 weeks leading out of the season. Finally started showing some signs of life. How fitting that in his potentially last game ever, Zdeno Chara scores a goal. That tall maniac. But lots of sports, lots of hockey, all good stuff. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. It's a cool time to like sports. It's a cool time to like hockey. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But hey, episode 166, Bar Down Breakdown. We're back. We've got 2 months just about until Bar Down Breakfest on June 25th in sunny Orlando, Florida. And we have with us today our homies from Brooklane, from Fargo, North Dakota, all the way up there. They just told us it's apparently still snowing. That's a bunch of bullshit, but such is life. But we've got Chance, we've got Alex. Dude, thanks for being with us, guys. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you having us.
Hell yeah. So let's just jump right into the fact that it's almost May and it's snowing. What the hell is that about, man?
I don't know. I mean, we had a really bad storm out of nowhere, and there's people still without power until like May 16th.
Jeez.
Nuts. But, you know, today it's crazy. We still got some snow lumps everywhere, and it's like 50 degrees out today after it just got done storming.
That's a wild thing. But, you know, one of the things I have heard about North Dakota is that it is a pretty picturesque place to be. I heard it's really, really beautiful. But I guess my first question, before we even get into like, you know, any Brooklane stuff or talking about the new single and all that really cool stuff is, you know, what's it like being a pop punk band from North Dakota? Like, you know, I'm curious to, you know, how the scene is there and, you know, like, are tours coming around or like, you know, kind of how is that kind of come together?
It was really tough to get members to start this type of music up here.
Sure, I can imagine.
There's a pretty decent scene up here. Okay. A lot of it's a lot metal and stuff like that, but like, you know, you get slim pickings and trying to find your band members, you know, and who you think's going to work out and who
there's
sticks
a lot
around.
of people too. Like it's like so it's not populated here, so.
Yeah, that's another sort of interesting thing, right? Is like, you know, because of how, you know, how unpopulous it is. I mean, it's like, you know, finding people that are like-minded, I'm sure could probably be pretty difficult. But I mean, as far as North Dakota goes, you know, you guys being in Fargo, you know, I would think that's probably one of the more densely populated areas in the state. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Probably it's our most populated area. It's still not very populated. So,
hey, I mean, you know, it's like a culture shock. I mean, you know, Mikey and I grew up on Long Island, which is, you know, an hour away from Manhattan, which is like, you know, I have a feeling that like, you know, 4 city blocks might have the same amount of people at one given time than Fargo might have on its busiest day. But that perspective is again kind of strange. So, you know, normally we kind of hit this in the, you know, towards the middle of the episode, but I kind of want to hit it first because, so again, you know, Mikey and I were spoiled, you know, growing up near Manhattan where you could just take a train into the city and pretty much see any type of music, any sort of tour, anything that you might want is right there at your fingertips. So, would love to kind of hear, I guess we'll start with Chance first. You know, what got you into alternative music? Like, you know, was there like a catalyst or a specific band or tipping point, or was there something that, you know, one day you just realized like this is for me?
That's a great question. So I started playing guitar when I was 9 because my sister was like really goth and she had a lot of friends that would come over and they had this little tiny dinky first act guitar that I got and they started playing stuff on it and I was like, whoa, that's really cool. And like they showed me one thing and I was like, this is it. I'm like obsessed with this. And then I started playing that. My dad liked Metallica, so like I started with like that old, like kind of heavy metal type stuff. And then when I met like the other guy in the band, Damon, and then Alex, and we started doing pop punk, and I was like, this is fun. It's more fun to play than anything, I think. And I've decided that that's probably my go-to genre nowadays. So
excellent. Yeah, I'd love to hear that. And then Alex, kind of same question to you. Like what got you into alternative music? How did it kind of start and flourish for you?
Oh man. So, growing up in high school, it started, listening to like MXPX and Blink 182, all those kind of bands like that.
Oh yeah.
I actually, started playing drums, when I was younger, and I always loved singing, but I was so embarrassed to sing in front of everybody. And, towards the end of my high school, I joined the choir and everything, and I kind of got over that shyness. And ever since, I think it was my junior year in high school, I started singing and stuff. And I really when I got into college, I tried to start a pop punk band. It was like two of us and we sucked so bad. But I remember going home after that and buying an old Tascam recorder. And I wanted to be Gerard Way at that time. I swear to God. And like sitting in my basement and like for 12 hours a day, I would sit there and teach myself how to play guitar and like track everything and
awesome.
Write probably some of the worst songs you've ever heard in your life. But over the time, I grew to love. I mean, I always loved it, but it like became like my life after that. So it's kind of how I just listening to some of the greats and really trying to mold myself.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what everybody does. I grew up as a drummer, and also I sang a little bit. In the first band I was ever in, I actually sang and played drums at the same time, which was a feat amongst
That's
itself.
Tough.
Yeah, it wasn't super easy, but it was a lot of fun. But I also wrote terrible songs and tried to teach myself things, and I did. But everyone kind of, I think, goes through that period of trying to find out what works, right? But kind of here we are, some years later with Brooklane, and it's great to know that you guys have found something that works. And you could definitely tell, when you listen to the music. I mean, you guys had just dropped this new single recently. I think it was just like a couple of days ago. And, I was listening to Roll with the Punches a bit, which is, kind of your, I guess we'd sort of call it your debut record, right? Really, really cool to kind of see it all and hear it all come together. But, I guess another question to that effect that I'd have, and I always like to ask, bands that are kind of playing now, as far as writing and recording a record, right? So it's interesting to see, as I'm kind of looking through your Spotify, like it looks like you guys had put out, a couple of singles here and there, which I think is kind of par for the course. But then like seeing that full album come out, especially for like your first sort of thing, right? I feel like a lot of bands aren't really doing that as much lately. I feel like a lot of bands are really focusing on singles and not putting out entire albums. And I mean, we've talked about this with a lot of different artists we've had on. For me personally, I love that there's a whole album. Like that's how I like to listen to music. Like, you mentioned MXPX, right? Like my first introduction to MXPX was listening to Slowly Going the Way of the Buffalo from front to back, right? And like, I don't know if I would have loved MXPX as much if I like had just heard like a song or two, but listening to that whole album and like kind of seeing how they like how the songs materialized and how they sequenced everything, I think is like such a great thing. So I guess what I would ask is what was the process like, recording a whole record, kind of taking that chance on an entire piece of work versus just, taking a couple of years and just releasing singles?
I guess when we first started, like, we really didn't like understand the whole process of releasing anything.
Okay.
I mean, we wanted to, but there's so many things that people don't like realize that you got to go through to like make it work, like through Spotify and like other streaming platforms, like how to do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
But but we would just start, you know, like writing a song, whatever. Okay. And like me and Chance like wrote a lot of them together, and we just kind of play off of each other. He'd have like a couple parts, and I'd be like, dude, that's sick. Like, let me add to that. And before you knew it, we'd have a song. Mm-hmm. And then I guess like we kind of like would just kind of release like a song when we didn't know what we were doing, like on the interview. Hey, there's one done. Let's just release it, you know, and see what people think. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, as we got signed on to Watt, we learned a lot from like them on how to release stuff and you know, to put together a whole album. I think it like really like makes somebody connect with the band a little bit more, because they get to see like a little bit more of your personality, like how you were saying. You get to see that personality. You connect with them a little bit more, you know, through more of their music. And sometimes it takes like some people, like music grows on them, you know, like they might not like that one song, but if they listen to a few others, whatever, the band really grows on them. So
sure,
I don't know, I guess releasing it wise, I think we wanted to have like something that, like you said, just to release that enough songs so that people could like hear a different variety of what we had to offer.
Yeah, sure.
You know, so because I think a lot of our songs that we can kind of go one way and then we'll go another way with a different song, like type of sound. So we like to kind of mix it up and not kind of really stay like the same, you know, style in every song. But
sure, awesome. So I guess you know, Chance being, you know, the I guess band dynamic wise, like, are you the only guitarist, or do you, Alex, also play a little bit of guitar as well?
Chance is our only guitarist. Like when you know, when we play live and everything, and when he records, we both kind of do it on the recordings here and there. But Chance is like our main go-to guy for that. So
cool. So I guess, Chance, would you say, like, as far as the songwriting is concerned, like, you know, let's looking at the record, let's just say, like, you know, a lot of the ideas that you had, did they typically start with you like writing a riff, or, you know, were they kind of more collaborative, or like how did the kind of songs come to flesh out the way they did?
So it really kind of depends on the song. It's interesting because like Alex was saying, sometimes it's like I'll have a riff, like you said, and it turns into something that ends up being like a chorus or a verse or something. Or sometimes maybe Alex starts a song and I completely change it entirely, and then the song goes a completely different direction or something. Or there's even been times where I've written like a verse or something, like vocals too, and I'll send it to Alex and he'll change it up in his own way. And then once we actually get together and sit down and write the entire song, it's when it really kind of you know, becomes a real thing. It's weird when it's just like one part. You don't really know if it's gonna go anywhere. But by the time like I've done something with it and he's done something with it, and we send it to our producer, and then they change stuff up a little bit too, it really comes to life, and it's actually kind of cool to see it that way.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think, you know, in the songwriting space, there's you know, especially being like the lone guitarist, right? I mean, like, there's so much you could do in a studio setting, but, you know, making sure that you can, you know, replicate it when you're getting out there playing live, you know, is definitely a really important thing. And to that end, so you know, you put out the record last year, kind of like, I guess, right smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. Have you guys had an opportunity to play out on any of these jams yet, or anything, or not so much really?
Once
we just we were ready to go before the pandemic, and we had like a show or two lined up, and that seemed to kind of be the thing with our band. Like every time we get ready to go, something would happen, man, and like we just could not get over that. So we took that time during the pandemic to really like just buckle down and like start writing some more stuff during that time, and kind of like make some of the songs we already wrote a little bit better, especially with like the producer that we were writing with and everything.
Sure.
But yeah, we actually did just have a show here lately that we got to finally get on stage and do these songs from Roll with the Punches. So
awesome.
And we did Breakaway as well too.
Yeah.
Oh, did. Sick. That's awesome.
That was fun to play. That's
gotta be such a cathartic thing. You know, a lot of musicians probably experience the same thing over these past 2 years, you know, writing music and, you know, just kind of toiling away in a studio, making everything perfect, and then not having the opportunity to like play it for somebody and, you know, experience that love of someone else enjoying it. So, you know, kudos to you guys for finally getting that experience. But I'm sure it was kind of a tough ladder to climb to get there. So another question I have for you guys, I know I'm just kind of firing questions at you left and right, but cool. definitely interested to hear about how you guys hooked up with Jason from Mayday Parade. I think that's who you guys had on your feature for Here to Stay, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's a pull, man. I mean, your first record coming out and you've got the vocalist of Mayday Parade, singing on one of your tracks. So what was that process like? And, how'd you get linked up with him?
That was awesome because I grew up idolizing that man, like listening to him on his albums and stuff. And like, here he is on ours singing my lyrics, so it was crazy, but we ended up getting, that connection through our label.
Awesome.
I believe that he signed on to.
He's on Waters like.
He's on the like artist like
solo.
Solo. Yep.
Yeah.
So he's on the label, whatever, and then
Nice.
Our label guy hooked us up with him.
Awesome.
And we kind of just collabed over. We just recorded everything at the studio and then sent it over his way. He did his part, sent it our way. Listened to it all, and it was amazing, of course, when we got it back. So it was just like he really like went all out on it. That's what we were so stoked about. We thought maybe if we got like a big feature like that and he didn't know who we were, that like he was just gonna kind of do whatever job on it, like quick job on it. But no, he killed it, man. Like we were so excited when we heard that. We're like, oh man, Lancaster's killing it, dude. Like it was crazy. We
didn't even have to like give him any notes or anything. We just sent him what we had, and he came back, and that was it. We're like, all right, perfect. Let's go. That was
master of acoustics, man. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's
so. If Jason's listening, I just want him to hear that "Goodnight Moon" was actually my wedding song.
Oh, I love that song. Yeah.
Yep. So shout out Jason Lancaster.
So good.
So I've probably told my Jason Lancaster story before, but I don't remember what Warped Tour it was. This was when Mayday Parade was like a literal baby band, and they weren't even on Warped Tour, and they were just following the tour, trying to like get in Kevin Lyman's ear, just like, hey man, like put us on a show. And I mean, them being from Tallahassee, I mean, they literally followed the tour, I guess, from down south all the way up, and it was the New York date, and he was literally just outside like selling the digipack. If you remember like digipack CDs, like the ones that like they were in a jewel case, they just kind of flopped open.
Yep.
And he was selling that first EP.
Wow.
And he was literally just walking around with a Discman and headphones. And I remember like standing online for Warped Tour, and I think it was like probably 9:30 in the morning, and it was already like 85 degrees. And this guy comes up to me, he's like, hey, do you want to like listen to my band? And I'm thinking like, oh, this guy's going to put these sweaty, gross headphones on my ears. and yeah, he did. He just put them on my ears. And I was like, oh crap. And, I listened to it and I was like, yeah, man, I'll buy one. And I bought one, $5. And I'm sure if I still had that CD somewhere, I could probably throw it up on eBay and get a cool couple $100 for it now. But that just goes to show you like some of the bands that end up having the biggest success, like that's where you start and that's what you do. Like you literally just start by like trying to get all these people, like making sure they get into Warped Tour on time so they can go see Set Your Goals play at 11:15 in the morning.
Dude, you don't have to do that now. All you need to do is go viral. That's it, man.
Yeah.
Like, send up one, put up one TikTok video, go viral, and you don't even have to follow the Warped Tour or whatever. Like obviously Warped Tour is not around anymore. But
absolutely right. But and that's just the way that the music industry has changed. But and that's kind of a good thing though, right? Because like it's tough to go do that. Like it's tough to just say, hey, we're gonna, take 2 weeks off at all of our jobs and get in our van and try to do it. Whereas, in today's society, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I mean, there are very, very few places you can live in the world where you can just decide to quit your day job and just be like, hey, I want to go do this music thing full time and not end up, in a dumpster or a box somewhere. and don't get me wrong. Like I applaud the people who have the heart and the drive and the determination to do that. But a lot of times, like in order to do that, like you have to like have something to fall back on. Right. And, but in today's kind of world, like as long as you know how to meander through social media, you can make like a pretty good presence for yourself. I mean, like there are bands nowadays that like are getting signed to like big record labels, like without having even played shows.
A show. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like it's, but at the same time, I think that's a wonderful thing because, you know, a lot of great bands that existed, you know, when Mikey and I were younger, you know, like 2005, 2006, you wonder if some of those bands existed today with the resources that they have today, if they would have made it, you know, if they would have not just wrote a record and then just been like, we can't do this anymore, you know?
Right.
So I think it's a great thing for the music industry. And maybe like some people will say like, wow, you know, like that, you know, they don't know what it was really like to, you know, get hot and sweaty and follow Warped Tour around, but like, who gives a shit, you know? Like if you can make your dream a reality, however you can do it, go do it.
Yeah, work smart, not hard, right?
Hell yeah. I mean, that's what it's about. So just kind of dialing back to the full length record. So Roll with the Punches, you guys worked with Nick from We Set Signals, right?
Yeah, one of the songs. Yep.
So We Set Signals, how long ago is that? Was that like 70 episodes ago?
Yeah. Like a very long time ago.
Probably the only Australian hockey fan that exists in Australia. But
that's
We
not
Set,
true, but probably in the alternative world.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Sorry, Australia, if you're listening. I don't know.
Yeah. We're like the fifth highest hockey podcast in Australia, and now we're gonna just drop down the charts. So thanks, Tom.
That's fine. I'll take
Way
it.
to go, Tom.
Yeah, right. But
and all we needed was like 2 listens from Australia, and that got us up to number 5.
Listen, I don't know. Maybe their metrics will hear Australia and be like, they're talking about us. Boy. So what was it like working with Nick? I mean, I know he's kind of he's one of those like mad geniuses, I feel like, who is so talented, but also he's just one of the, you know, like he's just one of those guys who I'm sure like, is he one of those guys? And I mean, you don't have to sugarcoat it. Is he one of those guys that like, is like, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again.
So we actually, it was the kind of the same type of collab that we did with Jason with him. Yeah. We just kind of, you know, he was a label mate and we really loved like his stuff. Their band is awesome. I mean, like the guy's super talented. I mean, like I think he mixes and masters all their stuff too and everything. He does a bang up job on all that. So
yeah, he sure does.
I think like we just kind of did that over online too with him during that time. It was right around roughly around the same time, wasn't it, Chance? I think that we did the Jason Lancaster. It was pretty close to each other. And we sent it over to him and like, you know, we're just like, all right, let's give him like, let's hear what he's got, man. And he sent his back. I was like, dude, that was like the coolest part of the whole freaking song. It was so good.
Alex, that's awesome. Didn't he write that part too? The bridge?
Yeah, he wrote that part because I had different lyrics wrote on that part and everything, and like a different melody too. And then
when we released it originally before we were signed to Watt, it was an entirely different bridge on well, it's called Bite the Bullet now, but it was Homebound is what it was called. And yeah, we sent it over to him and he sent it back and it was like, I like the old bridge too, but what he sent back was just the coolest fucking thing I've ever heard. Like, he's such a good vocalist, and I was like, "What is this?" It just really made it something. I don't even know, man.
It just sounded like more mature, I guess, and professional when it got done with. Yeah, like, his part was like, God, it's so cool. It was like a just no brainer. We're like, yeah, dude, this we're definitely we're using this.
I think that's like such an awesome thing. Yeah, like it's such an awesome thing to like send someone your music and have them put a completely different spin and perspective on it to like make you re-fall in love with your music, you know, again, because I think a lot of times as listeners, right, like on the listener side, you probably don't realize that like when a record comes out, like the artist has probably listened to this stuff like hundreds of times. So like I'm sure like when you were writing and recording your record, like you listened to all of the individual parts. And then as they came together, before they got mixed, then they got mixed, then they got mastered. And then after they got mastered, and you know, at the end of the day, you've probably listened to all of those songs, you know, 1,000 times. But, you know, it is super cool to know that like you could listen to something so often, send it away, someone just makes a little tweak or does a little thing, and all of a sudden you're like,
and it's huge.
Oh my God, like what a difference this is.
It's like a game changer.
Yeah, that's such a cool thing. And then but I mean, we can't, you know, leave, you know, the record without talking about anxiety. And I mean, at this point it's I think like 350,000 plays or something. That's like a tremendous accomplishment. Like how is it that you're getting your ears onto this stuff? Like, are you finding that playlists are adding you guys in, or is it just, you know, kind of word of mouth and people are finding you guys? Like, what do you think is kind of getting you those numbers and all of that success with you know, with that record there?
So it's funny. Actually, Anxiety was like one of the only songs we were so mad about, because we released that song before we knew what we were even doing.
Oh, wow.
It was about without pitching it to any curators or, you know,
okay.
anything like that. So like, but without doing that, it actually kept up with all the other ones, you know, like we were really surprised and blown away by that. But that seems to be like everybody's favorite, you know, when it comes down to it. Like, I think that one really just did so well too, because like I literally, you know, wrote that song about my own anxiety. I battled with it my whole life, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I think you can, from, you know, just hearing everybody, like their feedback. I mean, we get like messages like saying that song literally saved their life, like multiple times, so awesome. You know, it's like,
love that.
And I'm just like, it's just my way to vent, you know, and like, I just wanted to know if like anybody else, you know, else out there, which I know there is, you know, people that feel the same way, and just kind of wanted to write something that people could relate to, you know, and like, because that shit sucks, man. Like,
it does. Sure does.
Actually, so going back to what you were saying is like, yeah, we didn't release that one on like the radar, which I think if we would have, we probably would have got a lot more streams and stuff like that. But it is what it is, you know. You learn, live, you learn.
Yeah.
The other ones though, we do work with our label on that. They have, I believe like the Sony Orchard and stuff like that they work with, and
awesome.
They, you know, they pitch all of our songs to curators and stuff like that, and you know, hopefully like they'll land a playlist. You know, like we've been on a pretty good amount of playlists now, and I think we were the cover of one. Was it Pop Punk's Not Dead? Chance? Don't quote me on that.
I think
one of the Pop Punk ones, or maybe it was Pop Punk's Essentials, or I can't remember what it was. We were on the cover of that for a while.
It was
cool. Those are two heavy playlists to be on, though. I mean, either it's the Pop Punk's Not Dead or Pop Punk Essentials. I mean, they're both huge. You know, we've had our homie Brandon from the Maguas, who also like curates playlists and stuff. And he's told us, like, you know, in this day and age, like getting on a playlist can make or break a band.
Oh, definitely.
Can absolutely make or break a band. And I guess that's kind of like, you know, again, pulling it back to, you know, when Mikey and I were youngins and stuff, it was like the same thing as like getting on a cool comp, you know, like if you were able to get on like a comp that was like distributed, or, you know, one of those things, like, and more people got to hear your music, you know, it was a great thing. And it's the same thing with these playlists, except that it's the reach is so much broader, because you don't have to go to your record store and buy a comp, or, you know, you don't have to.
Yeah. It's actually getting out to people. That's the thing. It's like, it's disheartening, you know, when you don't, you know, we've had a couple not make them, you know, and it's just like, man, we put so much time and effort into that. Like, whatever. It's a, you know, you gotta, it is what it is. But I mean, it's just like, it is nice to be able to, you know, you get your work recognized.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
There, so.
And I guess you kind of never know like what is going to hit. Right. So, I mean, like, you know, you guys put out a record, you know, with, you know, 10 songs or something like that. Right. And like, you know, like maybe you've chosen, you know, track 1 and track 2 and track 6 to like be your 3 singles, but it just turns out that everybody relates to, you know, track 9, and track 9 was like the one that like you guys threw together in the studio, and you were like, man, like this, I don't know how this one even made the record, but all of a sudden that's the one that everybody loves. Right. So like, you just, the court of public opinion is probably the most important thing. But, you know, to your point with anxiety, relatability, right, is also another thing. And especially kind of pouring your heart out, you know, the subject that's so delicate and so close to home, and knowing that people are not only loving the music, but are relating to the material. It's just like a great thing, you know? So definitely a tremendous thing for you guys there. So, I mean, you know, you got to love it, but let's chat a little bit about, you know, the new single that you guys put out. So Breakaway, I think that literally like was just like a couple of days ago, right? If I'm not mistaken, like
Friday.
Yeah, it was Friday, right? So, I guess if you could share a little bit, is this, you know, material that's part of a like a bigger picture? Are we talking about like a whole other record here, or are we just kind of testing the waters with the single? Like, what's kind of on the radar for new music for you guys?
So yeah, this one actually we're going to be we're in the process of making the next record. So Sweet. This one is going to be one of the ones that'll be on there.
Awesome.
We just released it as a single. So
cool.
Yeah, it's kind of, we were kind of like going back and forth on like what we should do on this album, since I feel like pop punk changes like every 6 months, you know, like it's like crazy. So we never thought that pop punk was going to start going like the trap route, you know, like, or like whatever, you know?
Yep.
So like we want to kind of, we're going to start putting a little bit of the trappy stuff in with the, you know, the more edgy pop punk. We want to keep it our sound though still. So we're not going to go crazy and overboard with it. But because I feel like, you know, it just seems like pop punk kind of like goes that way and then it reverts back to how it used to be, you know, like, and it's like, we've gotten so many people that just are so into like that 2010 era and like, you know, that earlier pop punk stage. It's something that they'll always love. They can relate to it. It's, you know, that's what they're used to. That's what they remember pop punk as, you know?
Sure.
But we love that, the new stuff too. Like Magnolia Park is freaking awesome. Like we love all their songs.
Oh yeah.
Like just, you know, 408's another good one too. Like the trappy stuff is cool. Like, you know, it might kind of reminds me of like Forever the Sickest Kids in like a newer day and age, you know? So it's like,
yeah, for sure.
So you can probably expect some of that, like a little bit of trap stuff on there, like
awesome.
in between, like, you know, bits and pieces of the song.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
that's great. I mean,
shout out Orlando real quick. Orlando, Florida, best music scene in the country.
There we go,
man.
Home of Bar Down Break Fest, June 25th. Get your tickets. Sorry,
we're miserable shills for this fest, man. That's all we do is like. I could probably take anything that you say and transition it into like a bar down break fest like ploy. Like you could be like, yeah, man, grilled cheeses are good. It'd be like, yeah, different kinds of cheese, American cheddar. And by the way, cheddar doesn't cost a lot of cheddar to get your tickets right now. So it's just like I have that ability and I'll use it quite frequently. So one last question for you guys, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about our awesome sponsor, DraftKings, who are running some pretty cool promotions for the playoffs. But so I know kind of hearkening back, Chance, you had said it, like you kind of started playing guitar and you were kind of into a little bit more like the metal stuff just because like that's what, you know, you said your pops was into, Metallica and all that kind of stuff. Do you find that like, you know, even though like you're playing pop punk or alternative music, like do you ever kind of find that like some of those like metal influences kind of make their way into how you write?
That's a actually. So I guess to give context, I've been writing with Alex now for probably 8 years or so.
Oh wow, okay.
So he's been helping me become a better writer since I've met him, because I was very good before. But that used to definitely show a lot of my metal side, because Alex likes metal too, but Alex is really good at when it's that time to separate a genre when you're writing, and that's something that he's taught me, and I've really had to kind of push myself, because there are sometimes maybe you really want to do some metal stuff in like a song, but it doesn't fit and it doesn't work. So you kind of got to be honest with yourself at that point. So that's something that it has been a thing in the past, but it doesn't always work. You
know, and the funny thing about that is like, so when you listen to like, and the perfect example of this is listening to 4 Year, right? Because like, like Tonality, right? Like if you took any of those 4 Year riffs, like most of them are, you know, getting like a little like music nerdy, but like most of like 4 Year's riffs that are like metally are all like kind of major. They're major riffs, right? So it's just like, okay, like I could see how this could be metally, but it's pretty sounding, right? Because it's all major scale, it's all that kind of stuff. If you took a 4 Year riff, a lot of these 4 Year riffs, and just like switched it from a major key to a minor key, you'd be like, oh yeah, this is just metal. This is just like butt metal.
That's
like this is what this is.
Ended up being so like that. So yeah, that's a really good point.
And like
it sounded cool.
Yeah, and that's like the awesome thing about it is like, you know, some of that like early easy core stuff, like, you know, they literally were just like, well, you know, I can't put this in D minor, but if I put it in D major, like, and maybe throw some keyboards over it, like I think we got something.
Right. Exactly.
And but like if you look at it, like talking about also just to kind of harken back to how we talked about how pop punk is constantly evolving, right? So I mean, you know, you guys, I'm sure being 4 Year fans, right? Like if you look at, you know, Rise or Die Trying, right? So, you know, that record, quintessential 4 Year record. I mean, like, you know, if you put any song on that on for anybody who's ever liked pop punk, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember crushing beers and listening to this. But then for me, if you take it all the way to Brain Pain, right? I think Brain Pain is
I love that song.
Cohesively, Brain Pain as a record, 4 years best record, 100% best record. And the reason that is because they figured it out, right? So they figured out how to incorporate all of their different loves into a record that is both mature, but at the same time still kind of has their roots. It still has the breakdowns. It still has the fun riffs. It still has, their little cheeky, vocal stuff. And, I think that that's something that as you develop as a writer, right? Like you finally come into your own, and you can keep kind of pulling like taffy, right? You just keep kind of pulling and stretching it until you got something that really works for you. But it's cool to know that you guys have such a deep collaborative relationship, because in this early stage of your band, like you guys are already figuring it out. So, by the next record, like you could have that Brain Pain, which took 4 years, 10 years to get, Right. So I think that's a great thing. I think that people kind of don't realize that once it clicks, you can just do so much with it.
Right. Yeah. We're really excited. Like, just bouncing off what you're saying, because we're actually going to be going down to record with Andrew Wade here for the next album. So,
all right.
So we're really excited to know what comes out of that, because, it just, dude, everything, I feel like everything that guy touches, man, just turns to gold. It's like,
he's a genius.
And where's his studio again?
Orlando, I believe.
Oh yeah,
Orlando.
Home of Bar Down Breakfast, June 25th. Get your tickets.
I'm telling you, man, you're getting really good at this. But speaking of things that are really good, I am so pumped that we are finally approaching the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think it's the coolest 2 months of the year. So much incredible hockey comes out of this, and I really can't wait. And Drafting Sportsbook, as always, is doing really, really cool things for their customers, and they're an official sports betting partner of the NHL. And they're doing a just tremendous offer. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win, and you get $100 in free bets no matter what, win or lose. So all you got to do is invest $5. Maybe you don't go to Starbucks for like 1 day, or maybe I don't know, have 2 less tacos from Taco Bell, and then you got $5. You could bet that $5. Get $100 in free bets. It's so awesome. So if you're looking to turn a small bet into like a big payday, DraftKings same game parlays can do just that, which is really awesome. So you can create your own parlay by combining multiple bets, like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more. It's a shot at an even bigger payout. It's like prop betting. I love that kind of shit. So, DraftKings, you're always doing some cool stuff. And always remember, they're safe, secure, and reliable. And best of all, you can deposit and withdraw that cash whenever you want, so you don't have to hit any limits. It's great. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN, as you always do for the Hockey Podcast Network. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win and get $100 in free bets, no matter what. So again, that's THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, and they are an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. And if you see the show notes for details, you'll see all of the disclaimers and where you can reach out if you do have a gambling problem. But I don't know.
If you want to practice your state abbreviations.
Yeah, you could do that. Also, I think if you're betting on anybody other than the Colorado Avalanche to come out of the West, you're a fool. You're an absolute fool. But, the East is another thing. And we could talk a little bit about that. Everybody's loving the Cats, but I think you can never count out the Bolts. You can never count out the Pens. And dare I say it, Michael?
No, you're not saying it. So let's talk that. Like, I was really feeling hot about the Cats, and then they won the President's Trophy, and I feel like that's a curse. And now I'm not so confident about them. So I wish that they would have dropped down a spot or two, and then just caught, like just a nice wave going into the playoffs. But they got crushed by Montreal last night. Like crushed.
They did. So, yeah. But I mean,
a way to go into the playoffs.
That tends to happen, though. I mean, like once you're comfortable, you've already got the President's Trophy. I mean, why send poor Jonathan Huberdeau out there to get yet another assist? Just like let it ride, But I think
Can I make a comment real quick?
You sure can.
I haven't eaten Taco Bell, like real tacos, in years.
Okay.
Are 2 tacos $5 now? Because you
No.
mentioned that in the. Oh, okay. You just did that on the fly and fucked up.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I think like a soft taco is like
I know
$1.50 or
inflation's
something.
bad, like, but $2.50 for a Taco Bell taco, I'm
Listen,
not paying for that.
I mean, so, and that's the thing with Taco Bell, right? Like that used to, I mean, it kind of still is the safe haven to like get to stretch like $5 the best you can. But like it used to be though, back in the day, like $5 could get you like some real like decent shit from Taco Bell. But now like $5, like if you go on their like dollar menu, they're like rice burrito, like burrito with rice inside, $1.
Do they still have
like
the $5 box? Don't
they do have the $5 boxes, which are pretty good, right? $5 box, gives you this and that and the other thing, and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, like their dollar menu has gotten, like dollar menus in general, like at any fast food place, they're getting pretty stingy. Like there was a day there, used to like be able to roll up to a Wendy's, be like, let me get that like junior bacon cheeseburger for $1, and you'd be like, oh, I'm set. I'm gonna have 2 of these. Maybe like a value soda, and I'm gonna be at like $3.50. But now it's like, cool, the lettuce burger. It's the bun lettuce bun. Like it's just like, maybe a squirt of mayo on there. Mayo's mostly going to be on the paper though, so enjoy that. That's just how it goes, man. Inflation is killer. But
dollar menus anymore at McDonald's. It's like we finally got one I live in a smaller town outside of Fargo, and we finally got one after wanting one for like 10 years, and they don't even have the dollar menu anymore. So it's like,
so you guys didn't even have a McDonald's?
No, dude, it's a small town. It's small. Ooh. North Dakota. Dude.
So there funny story about McDonald's. So they say that McDonald's are one of the franchises that, like, if you buy into them, like, they're guaranteed to make you money, like guaranteed, right? So they say, like, very infrequently, if ever, do McDonald's ever like close, right? Like when they open up, they stay up and like they just make money. So they say if a McDonald's closes, that you're in like a really rough area. So this town right next to the town where Mikey and I grew up had a McDonald's that was like right across the train station in a really rough area. That McDonald's closed down. So like there are McDonald's in like the heart of Baltimore, like in like the bad parts of Philly, like the rough parts of Chicago that just like stay open and crank out. Couldn't even do it. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, that's a bad omen. And now, funny story, right next to that train station, there are like apartments that are like $2,500 for studios. So
wow,
as it were.
That's insane.
That is insane, because I guess I haven't been home in a while. I would not pay $2,500 to live right next to that train station.
No,
just,
you wouldn't.
Long Island's a weird place.
You wouldn't want to do it. But
now, let's just stay on the music talk for a moment, because I didn't get in my question about We Are Triumphant. So you guys have like hinted at the label for a while, and we love talking labels on this podcast. So I believe it's Greg Long, right? He's the homie that runs the label.
The owner, yep.
So like, how did you link up with him? And like, if you're familiar with the story, because like we've talked to a few guests on here who are on the label or were on the label, and it just seems like kind of like a mystery. I know that he like runs a really large pop punk Facebook group, right? Like he's a moderator for it.
Pretty much the pop punk kids page on Facebook. That's the big one. Yeah.
So is that like how you guys caught his ear and got his attention, or like how did that all play out?
I can't I can't even remember.
I don't know.
I think it was something like that.
One day.
We ended up. It was, well, we run with our AR rep, Nico is his name, whatever. But I think he was the one who, he was really into like pop. I mean, they both do pop punk stuff, but that was kind of his baby, was pop punk. And he ended up, I think, just finding us online and then shooting us a message. It was just like, hey man, we'd like to give you guys a call and like, let's talk about this. We just want to see where you guys are headed, like what your plans are for your band and stuff. And like, so we just called them up, and I think we all got on a big group chat, and we were just talking to him and just kind of ran over like some of like the percentages and numbers and stuff like that. And it's like, you guys, if you're interested, we'd like to work with you, and we can send you over the contracts and we'll sign them up. So.
And was this like in the middle of the pandemic?
This was right in the middle of the pandemic. Never even played a show.
Right when it was like kind of starting. So.
Wow. Yeah. So I feel like that speaks volumes. Like, you know, a lot of labels were kind of scared at that point and were like hunkering down and kind of putting everything on pause. But here they were, like,
I think it was like just a good opportunity to, you know, the pandemic was like, I mean, it sucked, obviously, everybody, but for musicians, I mean, it was almost like a bittersweet thing, because it's like, now you guys, everybody's at home quarantining, you know, there's nothing to do but listen to music or like whatever, you know. So I feel like a lot more people focused in on our songs and everything like that, because there was not really much to do, you know, and you had everybody's attention at that time. And I think, you know, those numbers really helped us out during that too. Not everybody was busy and, you know, whatever, they were focused mostly on just like listening to music and stuff. So
what's cool about We Are Triumphant too is like they're like stream based, like that's what their main focus is to help you, as almost they even say it like we're like a lily pad to help you progress yourselves. And it was almost like perfect timing that it was like we weren't able to play shows because we were focused on getting streams, and they were focused on helping us get those streams too. So so it actually kind of worked out really well as far as the COVID thing goes, because we ended up, you know, getting a decent amount of streams because of that once we started working with them.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting with the label. It seems like they have taken things into their own hands. So like having that Facebook group, like, you know, Facebook groups are kind of what they are, like, especially like the pop punk ones, but like having a large one that has a big following, like then transferring that to your label, transferring that to like bring attention to the bands that are on your label. Like they've taken control of that. Like, whereas if a label now is like, oh, you know, I see they're doing that, like, let me create our own Facebook group. Most likely it's not going to like take off, or it's going to take a very long time. Like, so like the fact that he has that. And then I know that they also have their own very large pop punk playlist. Like a lot of labels, like even big labels, like, you know, Pure Noise Records and like huge in the alternative world, like they try to do their own playlist and they don't take off even, but like, to have him have like a fairly large playlist as well, like taking it into his own hands. Like I that's kind of the thing that stood out to me with We Are Triumphant.
Yeah, I think that's like kind of their baby. They focus in more on the streams and stuff like that. So it's like they put more, I think they probably put a little bit more time and effort into that than versus like a lot of like the bigger labels and stuff like that. But like, just because that's kind of like, that's their bread and butter, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, it works out well for them. It works out well for us. It's been good working with them.
Oh, absolutely. It's really good. Like I mean, I think that's kind of how Greg started, is like helping bands get streams, and then that's kind of how he started a label. I might be wrong, I don't know, but I think that's what he said at one point, and it definitely shows, because, you know, a lot of his bands that, you know, put in that work and that time and effort to get those streams as well, with their help, it definitely, you know, it shows for itself.
So I guess now that you guys, you know, things are opening up, I know you got a tour with Chief State. Shout out to our homie Nick from Chief State. Like, do you feel like you're getting the support you need to now hit the road? Because that's usually like the label side too, like having the label support when you're ready to hit the road finally. Like now that you guys are going out on the road, do you feel like you got the support that you need, and you're
now yeah, I think so too. We just started working with an awesome management group that came in with us. David DeSanka, shout out, from Cold Coffee. No, they're freaking awesome. Like, I mean, us in the band all together are so ADD, man. It's like trying to, you know, do the business side of things and everything. These guys just came in. They're go-getters. They came and stepped up, and like, man, they've been doing like wonders for us on top of everything else. So
they're organized too. And another thing that actually does help too, as far as being signed with Watt, they don't take any percentages from our merch. I don't know if I'm supposed to say.
Oh wow, that's
awesome. That's another
so,
that was one of the big
really
things.
Helpful, because it helps us like able to fuel whatever we need to go on tour.
Yeah.
Especially with gas being like $4 a gallon now, you know.
Oh yeah. So that's actually super cool that we got that.
That is such an important thing, especially as a band that's like just starting to get out on the road. It's like you need every penny. You really do. If anything, just to, like I said, to be able to go out and do this again, you need to make sure that you're being really, really cognizant of the dollars that you're bringing in, what's being spent. And, the last thing that a label needs, when they're working with bands that are, 3 or 4 years into the game or just putting out records and just going on like their first big tours, the last thing a label needs is to be, shortchanging anybody. When it's all about development, it's almost like, like business incubators, right? It's like, some of the better business incubators understand that, a really small business that has potential, like kind of laissez-faire, we'll just give you the space, give you the opportunity, and kind of keep our hands off of it. And then, once you guys are in a position where, all right, now it's, we've got, a full West Coast under our belt and a full Midwest under our belt. And, we've done a whole record cycle. And now, like, we have the know-how to, play some bigger markets and bigger cap venues, then like a label can be like, okay, well, now we could do this and now we can do that. But I never really understood, like, signing to a label, when you're a band that's really just starting to grow and having to share your profits with a label, especially if, like, all the label is doing is really giving you, like a budget for recording. Cause sometimes, like, you kind of see that with labels, like they don't really support you on the tour end, or they don't support you on the merch end. They're really just like, all right, here's $5,000 to go record a record. When you're touring, we're taking 20% of your merch and, all this. And it's like, that, but it's good to know that, obviously Watt's taking care of you guys. And I think that that's something that, we expect, knowing, speaking to people that are on the label and understanding the plight of what they do. It's a wonderful thing. So, but yeah, that's kind of cool. Going out with Chief State. How many dates are you guys doing?
I think what do we? We're still trying to hash it out yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
like
you said, we're working with David DeSanka.
I think we're doing.
She's working
3,
with
4, like 5 of them. I think 5 of them. Does that sound about right, Chance? 4 or 5 of them?
A couple more. I don't know.
Okay.
Like as of that I know of right now, but there's we're still discussing it and everything, and still
they're emailing back and forth with like our
and that's and they're going out supporting the new record. Is that you guys are going out with them for that?
I think so.
I think so, right?
I believe that's what probably.
Yeah, because I think that.
And I was just like, I'm in.
I know.
Yeah, hell yeah, right?
Yeah.
I think the new record, if I'm not mistaken, I think it comes out July 1st. And I think I only know that because, like, I pre-ordered it because you got to support the homies.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then we probably
hell yeah.
They're bangers too. The ones
no, they are.
God,
and that's an awesome thing too. Like getting an opportunity to get on that tour, knowing that they're supporting this album that already, like I said, the album doesn't come out for another 2 years, but the album is getting a lot of like good vibes. It's starting to get some press. The singles are great. I think, like, if I'm not mistaken, as wild as this is, like, I think it's like you could pre-order it on Best Buy. Like you go to Best Buy's website and buy it. I mean, so that's an awesome thing. So, kudos to Chief State and, you guys going out with them, especially for that. We hope that, that gets a lot of, fresh eyes and fresh ears on you guys. Cause
we're stoked. They were like during our whole writing process during the pandemic, like, I mean, I've even like brought, Chance, you got to hear these guys, like I found them and they were actually a big inspiration to our Roll with the Punches album too. Like it was like that guy's voice, man. Like,
yeah,
it's so good. So good.
I was using their music to cope a couple of years ago, and now I'm going on tour with them. Like, I'm so stoked. That's the coolest thing ever, man. Their music's so good.
It truly is a dream come true. And I mean, like we've had like those kind of like coming to God moments, even on this show. I mean, it's always going to be different for me and Mikey. I'm pretty sure Mikey's coming to God moment was probably Derek from State Champs. But,
oof, yes.
But mine was probably I don't know. I've had a bunch. See, like I'm an old head, and like we had someone from like Me Without You on, and like that blew my mind. And I had Evan from Into It Over It on, and that blew my mind. And it's just like, I'm so thankful that we get to do this. This is kind of a cool thing. But one of the greatest things about doing this is the fact that like we get to interface with bands that are, coming out of the gate strong. And, like a band like Magnolia Park, for instance, right? Like when we had like Mag Park on, like they were just on the precipice of
they weren't even signed yet.
Yeah. They were like just on like that tipping point. And now like people are just like, yeah, Mag Park. And I'm like, yeah. So like, I'm sure that probably 50 episodes from now, it's going to be the same freaking thing where people are going to be like, well, Brooklane this and Brooklane that. And I'm going to be like, yeah, we had them on the podcast when they were little tiny, teeny babies. And, and now they're out there kicking ass. So, yeah. But at the end of the day, like, that's the only thing that like we want for anybody that we come across, anybody that's nice enough and kind enough to take an hour out of their day to like talk with us two bumbling idiots. Like it's all we could want is just success for you guys. So, yeah, I mean, I really do hope that, the new music is killer and kick ass, as I'm sure it's going to be.
And I have to make a Dakota reference because
of course you do.
We're homies with the Spill Canvas, and they're holding it down for South Dakota, and they don't have kind words for North Dakota. So,
stir the pot. Baby.
I think we might need to have a little North Dakota, South Dakota beef between you guys and them.
Let's hook it up right on the podcast.
Yep. And then
time, baby.
Also, I remember a few years ago, it was like one of these big music publications, and they were like the biggest bands from each state. And like, New Jersey was like Bruce Springsteen or like Bon Jovi or like megastars. And then South Dakota was the Spill Canvas. So we need to get Brooklane to be the biggest band from North Dakota. Or who is the biggest band from North Dakota? Do you guys know?
No.
Yeah. Like I guess I should have done research, but we don't do research for this podcast, and I should have tried to find that like digital map and like had that, but I don't know either.
I guess if you guys maybe heard of a band, they're just actually coming back for a reunion show. They're our buddies. I don't know if you guys ever heard the band These Hearts.
Oh, weren't they? Oh gosh, were they a Victory band?
They were, yes.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that.
So actually, the drummer of that band was the drummer before the one we just got now. Like he was actually the drummer of These Hearts for the longest time.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they're getting together for a reunion show. And what is it? Chances it like August or something like that?
Yeah, it's around August. They're doing a couple shows actually.
Yeah, they're gonna do a few shows for reunion shows. So
yeah, I'm excited for that too because I want to see them play. I've never got to see them actually play.
Isn't Wiz Khalifa technically from North Dakota?
I heard that. I heard that too. I think it was an Air Force baby in Minot.
Okay.
Someone else. I don't know if it's true or not. Whatever. But someone said Johnny Craig was from the Minot Air Force Base too for when he was a youngin.
I thought he was like
I don't
Canadian.
know if that's actually true or not. I'll have to do some
we
digging.
We love that shit though. When we find out someone like famous is from here, we're like,
gotta rep it.
We got Josh Duhamel. Why not?
Josh Duhamel, and then Ronda Rousey. I think.
Wait, Josh Duhamel is like the Vegas guy, right? Like the TNT show Vegas.
Josh Duhamel's in like tons of movies. Fergie's ex. I don't think they're together anymore, are they? I don't know. I don't pay attention to him, but I just know he's from Minot.
I didn't realize that Ronda Rousey was from North Dakota.
I didn't know that either.
That one too. She was like from somewhere.
I'm trying to think of like, because I'm a huge wrestling fan, and I'm trying to think of like where they bill her when they announce that she's coming to the ring, and I can't think of it because all I can really think of is like her.
She's in wrestling now, huh? After she was.
Yeah, she was an MMA stalwart, and then she made the transition. I think her buddy Brock Lesnar was like, "Hey, listen, if you do this, you'll make a shit ton of money," and that's what she's doing because she's making a shit ton of money and doesn't actually have to get punched in the face.
Nice. Right. I actually worked with Brock Lesnar's cousin in Bismarck.
Lesnar's
here.
He went to
Lesnar,
school
yeah.
in Bismarck. Yep.
Lesnar's from up there. And you know it's funny because Lesnar went to what?
Which New
What do you
York
say?
Islander had the best season this year? Would you say, Tom?
Noah Dobson.
No.
I mean,
Brock,
he did.
Brock Nelson.
Well, I mean,
And
Noah
what's-
Dobson did have the.
What's the connection to Brock Nelson in North Dakota?
He went to school in North Dakota.
Yeah, he went to
Oh,
the Fighting
I'm guessing-
Sioux.
Oh,
Well, they're
Grand
not
Forks,
the Fighting Sioux anymore,
No, they
right? What
changed-
are
Grand
they're just
Forks.
like what are they?
we had
they
Carson
just-
Wentz. That's a
Carson
Right.
Wentz. That's a boy. There you go.
he's from
Love
India. So that's where he went. So that
Well,
was pretty cool.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't like wasn't North Dakota like a Frozen Four contender for like a couple of years? Like, weren't
They're always a powerhouse.
Probably.
Yeah.
Grand Forks is usually. I mean, they're awesome team.
Yeah.
We got great hockey teams everywhere. Even Minot, man, they're semi-pro. The Toros, man, they kill it, man. They're so much fun to watch.
Do you I mean, like, as far as like professional teams are concerned, I mean, like how far would you guys have to go to see like a professional hockey game? Like, what's really
Minnesota.
close?
Some
Minnesota.
To the Wildest close to you?
even, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Wild is probably close to us, but I'd rather go to a Blackhawks game. But
For sure. Yeah.
I'm not.
How far are you guys like from? And this is just me like not knowing United States geography, but like, how far are you guys from Chicago?
depends on how fast you drive, but usually around 13 to 14 hours.
Oh, so it's pretty far.
We're
That's
right
far.
up. We're like right up on the Canadian. Well, where I'm from, I'm like right a half hour from the border of Canada.
Oh wow. Okay.
So these
So
I
what's
actually have to
like
drive
4
4 hours
hours
to practice, 4.5 hours to practice with these
Yeah.
guys every time we practice. So
Whew.
So what's like the Canadian cities that are like right up? Is it like Calgary?
Estevan, there's Estevan right above us. Larange, like Regina is pretty close.
Okay,
So
Saskatchewan, right?
Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
not cities that you would want to hit the tour.
There's actually maybe Regina would be kind of cool. I guess like Calgary's not too far, maybe a little less than Chicago to us and stuff. So it's like, you know, that area would be kind of fun to hit. Canada's awesome, man. Like I love going. I don't know if you've ever been there, but
Excited to see Canada. To be
it's
honest.
dude, it's a blast, man.
Yeah, that's one of the things that like we always hear, you know, how beautiful Canada is, and
Yeah,
you know, especially kind of in the, you know, I guess the Midwest and Western parts of Canada, how just beautiful. And you know, that's what everybody says. You know, everybody says about, you know, Vancouver and you know, all those areas kind of out in the Pacific, and then, you know, even, you know, your Calgarys, and I've heard, you know, heard beautiful things about you know, different parts of Alberta and different parts of Saskatchewan and all that kind of stuff. So I hope you guys do get to, you know, get up there and go see it, and, you know, get connected with some of those dope Canadian bands, because, you know, there's a bunch. I mean, I know a lot of them are like kind of situated around the bigger cities, you know, Toronto and, you know, all that stuff. But, you know, there's definitely some untapped potential there for sure.
oh yeah, we're definitely gonna try to get up there as soon as we can.
Sweet.
And it's a lot easier going up than coming down.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure the Chief State's going through a bunch of paperwork and getting all these venues to vouch for
Right.
them and all that. It's a pain in the butt.
Yeah. I mean, but you know, it's par for the course. I mean, you know, if you know, this is kind of what you want to do, you gotta have to build that in. I mean, you know, it's hopefully one day, like, it won't be as difficult to navigate, you know, going from Canada to the US and all the visas and all that nonsense, but hopefully in time. But I guess closing arguments here. And I always like to ask these questions just because it is always something that's really, really interesting to me. So I guess, you know, over the past year, you know, you guys have obviously written and released a lot of music. You're writing a lot of stuff now. You know, I know you said like you were listening to like Chief State even to kind of, you know, pull a little bit of inspiration in terms of songwriting and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, what other bands would you say that, like, you know, you guys were collectively listening to a lot of that kind of shaped and molded, you know, what Roll with the Punches ended up being, and even what, you know, your new single was? So like some bands that were really interesting to you, or, you know, bands that you were really listening to ad nauseum, anything like that over the past year that you can call out?
Oh yeah, like Neck Deep, Waster, Between You and Me.
Stories
Wait,
of-
that's how you say that band's name?
That's Waster.
Yeah, Waster.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in the same boat at one time, man. Hey, you know that band WSTR? Yeah.
Yeah,
this is
right.
awesome. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All
But,
right, cool. Now I know.
yeah.
State champs and story so far.
The story so far, state champs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Super awesome.
Yeah, the unfortunately I'm out of commission right now. I've got a boot on my foot, and I was yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer, but I was supposed to go see the story so far last night. They were actually in Orlando on that on that tour, and I missed them unfortunately. But another one of those bands like the Wonder Years that I've talked about all the time, where I've seen the story so far, like when they were just kind of starting to get get their kind of sea legs under them, and they were horrendous live. They were bad, man. They were bad. But now that I hate to say it, but like they couldn't hack it. But from what I've heard, like, I think I saw them like 3 or 4 years ago, just before I left New York to come to Florida. But I had a couple of buddies at the show, and they said like impeccable, like exactly how everything sounds on Proper Dose is how they sounded live. And I'm bummed that I missed it, because the Wonder Years are another one of those bands that like 10 years ago, going to see them live was like, what am I in for? But now, like, absolute pros, and the story so far are in it. And I think they're writing some of the most compelling music in pop punk right now. I think it's fantastic. But of course, I mean, you had Joyce Manor on that tour, you had Mom Jeans, you had Microwave, so all incredible bands. But the story so far is just like, if you're looking into writing pop punk with some depth,
right?
They're the guys to listen to.
Lyrical genius, dude.
Oh yeah.
And like I think it takes a while, a lot, for a lot of bands too, like to get their groove, when they get out on the road and stuff, like to find out like
on the show
and
that
like,
too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just show by show, case by case. If it's
bad day,
if it's show 28 on the tour, 28 shows, 28 days, it's just, it can kind of get
they're doing it every day. We see them just the once, and we're like, oh, what the heck,
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. I agree. We've all had bad days at work, so maybe I gotta soften up a little bit.
You gatekeeper.
That's not gatekeeping. That's not even what gatekeeping is.
I'm just gonna call you that. That's what everyone now is gonna be like. Yo, Tom's a gatekeeper.
No, gatekeeping is
I try to give bands the benefit of the doubt, because like if I start talking shit, then I'm gonna end up screwing up really bad live or something. It's like bad.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, we've all been there. We've definitely all been there. I've screwed up many a times live. So I mean, who am I to judge, right? But
I couldn't even hear myself our first show. I was just like, I hope this is right.
You accidentally like forgot that you tuned your guitar to like some weird emo tuning, and everyone's like just playing open chords, and everyone's like, this sounds weird.
We quickly found out how bad a shape we were in too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh god.
That's usually all it takes. All it takes is like a good set on stage for you to realize, like, holy shit, this
time to go to the gym.
Yeah, this
cardio in.
COVID-20 is a real deal, man.
Oh my god, yeah.
There's definitely a reason why Jake from August Burns Red looks the way he does. Like,
yeah,
sure.
He is ripped.
That guy's the shred master, man. But yeah, it's a lot of fun getting out there and playing, but it's also, it's work. It can be work, but at the same time, it's a fucking pretty cool job to have. So awesome. I appreciate you guys sticking with us for this hour or so. Again, like I said, just indulging us and giving us a little bit of insight about, Brooklane and kind of what's coming on the radar. I guess if you could just take 1 or 2 minutes just to let our listeners know exactly where they can find you on socials and all that fun stuff. If you want to just shout those out real quick.
Me? All right. So, yeah, man, you can find us on any streaming platform, on Spotify, Apple Music. Otherwise, if you go to brooklanемidwest.com/music, you should be able to check. I think right now we have our new single out on there. You can just stream it anywhere.
We have our merch.
Socials. We have Brooklane Official on TikTok is our handle, and then I believe Brooklane Midwest is our Instagram. And yeah, we're Brooklane Music on Facebook is how you can find us there. Twitter, we're not so active on quite yet. We're working on that though. So the other ones you can kind of find us on a little bit better, and that's probably your best bet. So,
I just want to add to that with the new release of Breakaway, we have a Breakaway merch line that we just released. It's available right now for ordering anything that you want. Go on there, check it out. Get yourself some sweatshirts, some joggers, some hats, t-shirts. Pretty cool artwork on these ones. So
yeah, stoked. And thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Pleasure is all ours, boys. Definitely. I was actually checking out the merch before for the drop. It was actually pretty dope. So definitely get on there and grab yourself some cool shit and support the boys as they're getting out there and getting on the road and starting to pull their big boy pants up. You know, that's what we're all trying to do. We're not trying to gatekeep each other, right, Mikey?
Tom, you're the you are the New York Ranger gatekeeping fan, gatekeeper of the podcast.
All right, after we get off this podcast, I'm going to tell you what gatekeeping means, because you're just using it. Like you're verbing it right now. You're like Doc Emmerich when he talks about passing stuff on ice. He's like, "Oh, he saucepanned it." So or like, if you get a chance, seriously, if you get a chance, just go on Google and look it up. There was one game where he used like 70 different words to describe a pass, and like 65 of them don't make sense. Like he skadoodled it. Yeah, he's like, he aspirin pill bottled it over to Johnny Gaudreau. It's just like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Oh God, it's a beautiful thing.
Oh,
Doc Emmerich. If Doc Emmerich, if we can have him, if I ever find out that Doc Emmerich likes at least one rock band, and we can get him on this show, I think that'd be great. Yeah, I think that should be the last episode that we do ever. It's just be like, well, we got Doc. We can call it a day. Hey, dude, thank you guys so much. Chance, Alex, really awesome that you took the time to chill with us. Brooklane, go listen to the record they put out last year, Roll with the Punches. Breakaway is available on wherever you get your music. And wish you guys all the best. Definitely will revisit you, like I said, in 50 episodes when you guys are out there, opening up for Mayday Parade or some crazy shit. And we're like, yeah, no, they were on the podcast and now they won't come back on without us paying them $1,000. So
no way, no. But if that happened, we'd be back.
Hell yeah. Well, we do wish that it happens. We wish all the success in the world. So, boys, thank you so much for being with us. Give our regards to Fargo, North Dakota, and we will catch you on the flip side.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Peace.
guys.